when life becomes, it comes through many different layers as it takes form. And then it becomes. This is evident in all the processes of life. Everything that grows and becomes, it goes through layers. Every layer is developing a different part until the whole is completed. And then we get the result. And so some of these layers happen before the areas that humans can perceive, and some of these layers are below what humans can perceive. And then there are the layers where human beings are in charge. And so whenever life happens, it's going through all the layers. And the layers where human beings are in charge is what we call the dress of the soul. The dress of the soul is the accomplishment of the soul. The soul dresses up in its own accomplishments because there it manifested from its own essence. Now everything that has an impact on reality becomes the dress of the soul. There's the direct impact, the intentional impact. Then there are the indirect impacts, the things that come out that we didn't even intend or know. The intentional impact is how we dress up our front. The unintentional dresses up our back. Then there are the impacts that come from those impacts, that continue like an echo throughout eternity. And those become the garments that are available to the righteous as life continues. And their original effort is bearing fruit. So Yaakov Avinu is creating within the world. He's giving his life in order to start something that's going to make all the difference. Back then it wasn't so clear what the difference is and how important it is. Today it's very clear that the disease that started thousands of years ago was a deadly disease. As slow as it works, it ends up creating violence within man, it ends up creating separation, it ends up creating competition and conflict. And so Yaakov Avinu gives his life so that one day people can remember the unity. One day people can remember that they don't exist as individuals. This is why when Yaakov Avinu turns towards his children, he says, Ma Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Means everything that I'm doing, I'm not doing because for me as an individual, I think this would be right. My being, my life, my expression of the life force that gives me the ability to act is coming directly from a place of realization that I am here because he wants me to be here. And he wants me to be here because I represent something that is beyond me. Not beyond me and my essence, it is my essence. Beyond me and my perception. My perception does not have access to my essence. My perception can't yet perceive my essence, but for that essence I'm working. That essence I'm worshipping. that essence that gives life to everything and to all. And so this was the call of this most divine family. The call of unity, the call of realization, the call of knowing that all the parts, all the separation, all the different conflicts that seem to be taking place, they are all coming forth from one that can never be divided. By the very nature of what they are, they can never be anything but illusions. But these illusions can cause severe consequences. Humans can, based on these illusions, create behaviors, create interactions, create speech and thought that violates every principle that allows us to exist. So being committed to the unity means that the person realizes the true nature of who they are. And then they're not less of who they are, they're more of who they are. Now, they're not being themselves because they want to. They're being themselves because the universe wants it. The universe demands it. It's not the person that became aware after they were born and came up with a story of who they are that decided that they need to be. That's just a side effect of being. They were decided to be much before that. Their existence can only be contributed to an act that happened before the whole narrative even began. And so it's not the narrative that's causing anything that's of essence. The essence is separate from the narrative. The circumstances and the happenings are related to a collective, are happening within a context. They tell us less about the individual and more about the environment within which this individual found itself. And so in order to affect the future of everything that he created, Yaakov calls his sons to give them blessings. This was a very meaningful ritual. This was something that related to how the Shvatim are going to be defined and how their roles are going to play out in the future. This was a prophetic blessing. It wasn't simply a statement of a wish. It was a statement that was going to define. Because, as we said earlier, the dressings of the soul are the elements within which humanity has power to act. And these are the realm of thought, the realm of speech, and the realm of action. Reality starts before thought. Thought is a result of an intelligence. The intelligence exists before thought. But a human being doesn't have conscious control before thought. And so therefore, it's not a realm within which the human is getting dressed. The human's essence exists in that realm. But there's no dress. The dress begins in the realm of thought. And as we dress, so the intelligence is going to manifest. This is forming reality. This is creating the true design, the patterns within which reality is going to manifest. Then the speech makes the reality even more concrete. Adds more structure, creates a vessel within which the thought can start manifesting into reality, can start becoming. And action is the final approval of the liver to what the brain and the heart decided. So Yaakov Avinu is now going to write into these elements, into these worlds, is going to write interpretation, is going to engrave concepts, symbols, ideas, definitions to the 12 tribes that he created, tribes that correlate to the zodiac signs, to the 12 signs that create the human decision-making process. And so he unites them. Hey, Asfi v'agid elechem, come together and I will teach you. Es asher yikra eschem lachas hayom, what's going to happen with you at the end. And Chazal teach us that his intention was to teach them the nature of redemption, to show them the unity, to show it to them in a way that they can experience it together. But when they came, he himself couldn't perceive it. And this is why he was concerned. Because not to be able to perceive it means that in this energy that is surrounding him now is someone that doesn't believe in it, is someone that doesn't believe in the unity. And this is why he can no longer perceive it. And so this is why he had to express to them the unity. And they, of course, believed in the unity. And nevertheless, they were not ready for redemption. They still needed to go through a lot of trials and tribulations before they're going to be ready for redemption. Because they are the forces within us. And they have been going through many trials and tribulations, many lives of suffering, many nights of questioning and trying to understand where did we go wrong. And yet, as long as that questioning is, why is my individual life not going the way that I would like it to go, then the questions are simply going to continue, because those questions have no answers. There's only a bigger picture that has answers. The small picture doesn't have any answers. The individual life doesn't contain answers. The individual life is answered by seeing the environment, by seeing all those around who are suffering. And this suffering creates more suffering. And that suffering creates additional suffering. All this so that eventually we wake up and we realize that we are all in this together. That's the way it always was, and that's the way it always will be. And being in it together means that we get to decide how it feels to be, how it feels to live, how it feels to have a relationship with the Creator, with reality, with our bodies, with our souls, with each other. We get to decide. Unfortunately, we decide at a very young age, and then it's very hard to change our decision. But we have to learn at some point. Someone is going to have to learn how to change so that the future is different than the past. The past is not pretty. The future has to be different than the past. And so the Shvatim, even though they believed in the unity, they didn't live in the unity. They sold one of their own. They misunderstood something on a very primal, basic level about the nature of their family. Why did they make this mistake? Because they lived amongst other families. They lived even in their own family. What they saw, for example, their own uncle, who was clearly not part of the tribe, and their great uncle, Yitzchak's brother Yishmael, Yaakov's brother Esav. So the families were not yet clean, and so they perceived their own family to be like the previous families. They didn't recognize the unity. They didn't believe in the unity in the way that it was meant to be believed. And so this separation, this conflict, continued throughout the entire history of our nation. Constantly, there were different opinions that resulted in tremendous bloodshed. They misunderstood the importance of the essence over the circumstances, the importance of the unity over whatever it is that might come up, that might seem so important. But whatever that is, it's temporary. The essence, the unity, is permanent. Nothing can be bigger than the permanent. Nothing can compete with the permanent. Everything we do is in order to align with the permanent, in order to return to the permanent. And so as Yaakov is coming to the end of his life, as his mission is about to conclude and he's getting ready to return to his source, to see with perfect vision, he already knows. He already knows how he's doing. He already knows he succeeded. When he found Yosef again, he also found the Shekhinah again. To find the Shekhinah means to know that you're okay on every level. To know that you can only be okay, that nothing else is possible. And so he knows his place, and yet he knows that his children have a long way to go before they can participate in his reality, before they can see what he's seeing, experience what he's experiencing. A lot needs to be aligned within how they process reality before they can unite with each other the way that the zodiac signs unite with each other. But the one who makes peace above in the heavens, because everybody has his place and everybody has his mission and everybody is doing everything they're doing in perfect harmony, so too here on this planet, within our population, the forces should get along. There should be harmony between the forces. The forces should know their functions. They shouldn't step on each other's toes. They shouldn't judge each other because they're different. They're meant to be different. The differences should be celebrated. And so therefore, he gives them the blessings. The blessings is to demonstrate that these forces are different, each one its own, each one the way it was meant to be in order to bring together the perfect whole. How do we create a whole from many parts? By creating balance between the parts. When there needs to be balance between the parts in order to create the whole, this tells us that there's a whole creating the parts. This is a demonstration. The zodiac was designed, the Sefer Yetzirah says, Orchon Kamim Milchama. He balanced them like a war, one against the other, in order to balance the forces, in order to create a center. The body, the forces within the body, balance each other in order to create a single whole. So whenever there needs to be balance in order to create a whole, then we know that this part is no part unless there's a whole. And so each part is an integral part of the whole, and therefore it's no longer a part. Therefore, it represents the whole. The whole needs it in order to be whole. Yakov Avinu lived these 17 years that he lived in Mitzrayim. He lived them in the way life was meant to be lived. He was fully functioning. He didn't have any pain, didn't have any suffering, he didn't have any complaints. And this is because when he saw Yosef, he realized that this whole time he was doing very well. He just didn't know it. In his illusion, he wasn't doing well. He was very concerned in his illusion. In reality, he was doing very well. He was always doing very well. And so, the 22 years that he lost is not because he lost Yosef. It's because he believed that he lost everything. He was wrong. If we said he was 22 years that he was sad, 22 years that he lost because he lost Yosef, okay, he didn't have a choice for that. That was Gzeira, he had to lose Yosef. But that wasn't the reason why. It wasn't because he lost Yosef. It's because he believed he lost everything. And this he couldn't handle. Nobody could handle losing everything. So when he found Yosef, finally he believed the truth. And therefore, he lived without any disease, without anything that would bother him, without the evil spirits having any type of power over him. And therefore he had continuous Ashras HaShechina. Because he came back to the truth. He woke up to reality. What woke him up? Seeing Yosef is still alive. Oh, if he's still alive, I miscalculated. And so this type of existence is available at all times to all people. But nobody had the events that Yaakov Avinu had in order to force him into submission, that you are okay. You have no choice any longer but to believe that you are okay. Everybody else is still not sure. You're still not sure, you're not doing so well. And so from this place, he gave his children a blessing. From this place, he attached his children to a reality where they realize that everything was meant to be, everything comes together, everything is the way that it was supposed to be. There can be no mistake. The mistake can only be on our part. We are not perceiving reality. What we are perceiving hurts. But don't blame reality. Realize that we are perceiving something that is not real. All those who got to see beyond the body, all those who got to experience something from the real reality, come back telling us that it's so vast, it's so deeply meaningful, it's so perfectly organized. This is the truth. It doesn't feel that way to us because we haven't believed it. We feel the way that we've believed. So that doesn't prove anything about what is. It simply proves that what we've believed is not healthy. It doesn't make reality bad. Reality is designed this way, that if we think bad, we feel bad. That's a good reality. That's a true reality. That's an accurate reality. We want to live in such a reality. We don't want to live in a reality where you can think bad and you still feel good. That would be wrong. And so it works, but it works based on our belief. And when Yaakov believes that he's okay, boy, does he feel okay. Never felt better. But when he doesn't believe he's okay, he doesn't feel okay at all. He feels horrible. He's falling apart. Nothing is working. Life doesn't seem to go anywhere. Of course, if that's what we believe, then that's what we see, that's what we're creating, that's what we become, that's what we experience, that's what our body gives us. Our body is simply confirming to us how it feels to believe what we believe. And so may all the blessings of Yaakov be realized in us. The blessings of Yitzchak to Yaakov be realized in us. The blessings of Moshe to the Shvatim be realized in us. Because this was the intent of their blessing. When they were blessing those who are standing there and everything that's going to come from that. Everyone that's going to result from these people. The blessings are still alive. The forces are still trying to figure themselves out. Still trying to get out of each other's way. Still trying to learn how to avoid conflict. So may that unity be realized in us, and may it happen soon.